So.
You starting all the way over.
Yeah. What?
That's a big step, my brother.
We've been rocking for a long time. She has my child. That's my girl. So, you know, I'm hoping for the best. Regardless of what that best is, I'm hoping for it.
If you're gonna move her in your house, but if y'all don't get married, then what?
That's my girl.
You're acting like Ken now. You've been hanging around Ken too long.
Bro.
Martell Holt is once again making moves that have everybody talking, and this time, his decisions are leaving people completely stunned. Instead of focusing on growth, peace, or even rebuilding his image, Martell is stirring up new drama by bringing Arian back into the spotlight. Yes, Arionne's name is right back in the middle of Huntsville conversations because Martell has been openly talking about moving her and the kids into a house and, even more shocking, possibly trying to bring her onto Love and Marriage Huntsville. The very idea has fans shaking their heads, wondering if Martell has truly learned nothing after all these years. People see this not just as a personal decision but as another messy and calculated move that could backfire in ways Martell doesn't seem ready for. This situation started with Martell inviting Chris Fletcher over to a property. On the surface, it looked like business. Chris arrived dressed sharp, carrying his tape measure, and ready to do some real estate work. But Martell's true intentions had nothing to do with property lines or business growth. Instead, he wanted to sit Chris down, test him, and check where his loyalties stood. Martell, instead of moving forward with maturity, was still stuck in the past arguments and drama, using opportunities to figure out who was on his side. Then, right in the middle of this so-called business meeting, Martell dropped the bombshell. He was planning to move Arian and their kids into the house. Chris Fletcher, just like the audience, was completely caught off guard. He asked the same questions that fans were asking in their heads. Are Martell and Arian getting married? Was this finally the next step after over a decade of being together? Martell's response was simple yet telling. He said no, they were not getting married, she was just his girl, the mother of his child. When Chris pressed further, asking if they were at least going to live together, Martell said they couldn't live together until they were married. Now, this response is frustrating because everyone knows that Martell is the one in control of that decision. If he truly wanted Ariane as his wife, if he truly wanted stability, he could have proposed years ago. But after more than 10 years, Martell has not given Ariane the ring, the title, or the respect she has been waiting for. Instead, he keeps her hanging on, bringing her in and out of his life, pulling her into messy situations when it benefits him, and then pushing her away when it no longer suits his plans. What makes this even worse is that many believe Martell brought this up in front of Chris just to make sure the news would travel back to Melody. It looked like yet another move to get under Melody's skin, to try and stir feelings of jealousy or anger. But here's the truth. It has been 5 years since their divorce, and Melody has made it crystal clear that she is not interested in Martell anymore. She is thriving, she is protecting her. And she is moving forward in her life. Martell, on the other hand, is still stuck in old patterns, still trying to use Ariane as a pawn in his never-ending attempts to control or provoke Melody. And now, let's pause to talk about Ariane herself. For over a decade, she has been tied to Martell, waiting for him to step up, waiting for recognition, and waiting for the respect that never comes. Yet, what does she have to show for all of these years? She doesn't have a marriage, she doesn't have consistency, and she doesn't even have the public acknowledgement she has been craving. Martell barely claims her unless it's convenient for him, and even then, it's usually to toss her name around in a storyline. Now, with this new rumor about her possibly coming onto Love and Marriage Huntsville, the situation becomes even messier. If Ariane ever stepped onto the show, the cast would not welcome her with open arms. The perception of her has been shaped for years, and it is not positive. She is seen as the outsider, the side chick, the woman who played a role in breaking up a family. Without Melody around to shield or buffer the situation, Ariane would be entering into a circle that already views her with skepticism and judgment. People like Kimmy Scott, Maurice Scott, Marceau Scott, and even Wanda are not going to suddenly laugh with her or embrace her as if everything is fine. Instead, she would likely face direct confrontation, cold shoulders, and plenty of shade. And let's not forget, Martell has been helping Ariane through nursing school. While some might see this as supportive, there are rumors that he doesn't actually want her to work after she finishes. This adds another layer of control to their dynamic. Ariane, according to reports, went back to school because money has been tight. Martell's financial situation is not what it once was. His builder's license remains an issue, his businesses are struggling, and his reputation is damaged. For Ariane, going back to school is about survival and stability. Yet, Martell, instead of seeing this as her opportunity for independence, reportedly doesn't want her working. That says a lot about his mindset. This entire setup shows Martell's patterns of manipulation. He invited Chris Fletcher over not to discuss property but to use the moment as a stage to drop a calculated message. He wanted Chris to hear about moving Ariane in so that it would spread, and ultimately, so Melody would find out. But once again, Martell is trapped in his own game. Chris Fletcher wasn't impressed. In fact, he made jokes and directly called out Martell's foolish behavior. He reminded him of past instances, like when Martell asked him to sell a property and then pulled it back out of spite, only for it to remain unsold. Chris didn't sugarcoat his words either. He told Martell to his face that he and Marceau sounded like two big fools during their arguments. Fans have been saying the same thing for years. Martell has a habit of screaming over people, calling them liars, and trying to drown out the truth so that his version of events can dominate. He did it to Melody during their marriage, he has done it to Marceau, and now he is trying those same tactics with Chris. But the reality is that people are catching on, and they're not falling for it anymore. Chris even warned Martell about the potential tension this could cause with Maurice, given that Maurice is Marceau's brother. But Martell brushed it off, claiming that Maurice treats him like a brother and their connection goes way back to their days of playing football at Alabama A&M. While that might be true, it doesn't change the fact that Martell keeps repeating the same destructive habits. Meanwhile, Melody Shari is living a completely different life. While Martell is still caught up in games and old cycles, Melody is thriving. She is focusing on her businesses, her peace, and her purpose. Fans can see the difference. Martell is spiraling, while Melody continues to rise higher. That contrast makes Martell's obsession with trying to use Ariane to affect Melody look even more pitiful. For Ariane, this situation is just as sad. She has invested over a decade into a man who has never truly claimed her. She has no marriage, no consistent respect, and no security from him. Instead, Martell dangles promises and opportunities, keeping her tied to him with just enough hope to stop her from walking away completely. The idea of her joining the show might look like recognition to her, but in reality, it could expose her to even more public humiliation. The cast won't embrace her, the audience will likely drag her, and Martell could discard her just as quickly if it no longer serves his narrative. The truth is that Martell knows exactly how much Ariane wants public validation. He knows she wants to be seen, claimed, and acknowledged. And he uses that desire as a tool. He keeps her waiting for a ring that never comes, for a stable relationship that never happens, and now possibly for a spot on a reality show that might never truly benefit her. This isn't partnership, it's manipulation, plain and simple. And here's the bigger issue, Martell's patterns show no signs of changing. He has lost his marriage, he has damaged his reputation, and yet he continues to operate in the same cycle of control, manipulation, and revenge. Bringing Ariane into the house or onto the show isn't about building a family or creating stability. It's about stirring the pot, keeping his name in conversations, and trying to affect Melody from a distance. But the problem with revenge is that it never satisfies. It might give Martell a short-term sense of control or satisfaction, but in the long run, it leaves him even more isolated, more criticized, and more exposed. The question fans are now asking is simple. Will Ariane actually join Love and Marriage Huntsville? And if she does, what will that mean for the rest of the cast? Imagine the reactions, the confrontations, and the chaos that would follow. The tension with Kimmy, the shade from Marceau, the potential involvement of Wanda, and the awkward dynamic if Melody ever has to share scenes with her. It would make for explosive television, but it could also backfire on Martell in ways he hasn't considered. Because once Ariane is on that stage, she will have a voice of her own. She will speak her truth, and Martell may not be able to control the narrative the way he wants to. This is why fans believe Martell's moves are reckless and calculated at the same time. He thinks he is setting traps, but history shows that Martell often ends up caught in his own web. Ariane is still holding on, Melody is still thriving, Chris Fletcher is calling out the nonsense, and the Scots are watching it all unfold with skepticism. If Martell continues down this path, the dynamics of love and marriage Huntsville will shift in ways that no one can fully predict, but one thing is certain. Martell's refusal to take accountability, his obsession with control, and his reliance on the same old tactics will keep him stuck in a cycle that benefits no one, not even himself. Whether Arian steps onto the show or not, this storyline already exposes Martell for who he is, a man repeating the same mistakes, even as the world around him moves forward.